Welcome to K-Wave 6 Radio, your show for all things positive, with your host, Kirk Spencer. Good morning and welcome to K-Wave 6 Radio. This is your host, Kirk Spencer. Today, well, I always say today we have a special guest, but every day we have a show, we have a special guest. But this one is a little bit different, especially for my usual way of running a show. I have a friend, she is a friend, Michelle Vaughn, who by the world standards, I guess that puts her and I and a few other people I know of into the world of weird. You're weird, because people I grew up with, they were going, you're a nice person, but you're just a bit strange. We don't understand you. But Michelle's going to come on and probably blow your socks off, but she's also going to tell you a lot of information that you're really going to enjoy learning. So, Michelle, are you there? It seems that we do not have Michelle on the line at the moment. I thought we did. Anyway, while we wait for Michelle to come online, let me check to make sure everything is well, and I'll be right back. So just hold on for a moment, and we'll be right back.
FreedomTalkRadio.co.uk.
Let's go!
This is the most diverse, most amazing, one of the funniest radio stations you could ever listen to on the internet. I've heard so much stuff from the ups, the downs, the left, the right.
The politics, the non-politics, the schmolitics, whatever you want to call them.
It's great.
Hello, Michelle.
Hello. Hold on one second. I have to make sure. I'm on two phones right now, so hold on.
Okay, are you there?
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
I'm here.
You call. Okay. I'm going to hang up on this one, all right?
Okay.
So, all right, gotcha. Yeah, that was really odd, wasn't it?
Definitely.
That was a strange thing. I know.
Yeah, it's forcing me to learn some new things. Your world. I think we share the same world, just in different locations.
I know. Well, it's really not. It's really not actually. It's the same location.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Oh my goodness, it's been a ride to get here on this show today. I tell you. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for finally, not giving up. I've known you for a few years now, and I think you've been knocking on my door for this for I think you've asked me, 4 or 5 times?
Probably twice, but yeah, okay. If you say so.
Yeah, maybe twice or 3, and I got asked by a LA station here from what is the other station? Night Vision Radio here in Los Angeles. It's actual radio station, and I got introduced to Jeff, and you were the first that actually asked me, and I got really weirded out by that.
Why did you get weirded out?
Well, it just, excuse me, I'm nursing this cold, as you know I am. It was really difficult to come out and talk about a lot of this stuff. I've been living it for 11 years, very tightly woven under the radar, and I was very comfortable living like that. And I had several offers to come forward, and I declined it. And as you know, everything happens at the right time. So this was the right time. And even, however, even though it is the right time, it's still, it's still difficult. So I'm kind of nervous now. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah.
I know. I'm trying. I'll get through this. I will do well. So I know I will. Spirit's guiding me. So anyway, I just want to thank you and thank everybody who is listening, and nothing is by chance. There's something in it for everybody. Whatever reason you decided to sign up for this ride with me, there's information that your soul needed in this conversation. And when you really understand energy, there is really no such thing as coincidences, because those who are physically listening to the conversation are getting information, but there's also a subconscious group that's tapping into the information. So it's interesting, but Well, let's see. Where do I start?
Well, let's start with, first, there is something that I do want to start with here. Because the last time I actually asked you, it was something that you had actually posted on your timeline on Facebook. And it was a poster that read, "Everything as it should be." And that was a conversation you and I and others in different conversations have been having. And there are some people that believe that we can change everything, and then there are those who are saying, like what our conversations have been, we have a situation that we're in, and there is someone higher than us that is controlling the whole thing. We have some leeway in it, but where do we fit within that? And that's where we started, and that's when I said, okay, now do you want to talk about that subject? And that's when you went, yep, now is the time. So we can start with that, and then you can go into your history, because I know you said you wanted to do that.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of lay out my journey so that others who are waking up right now can kind of go, wow, that I can relate to that. That happened to me. What I'm doing is giving people a base. I'm giving people like a base, a support that, because when I woke up and so much occurred in my life, there was really no base. I had one woman who was exceptional, and I met an exceptional man who worked for United States Intelligence. I had a team of like 2 people, okay? This was when not a lot of people understood the language of metaphysics or energy or frequency. I mean, at the time, after I woke up, there were films coming out like What the Bleep Do We Know? There was some support, but there wasn't a lot. And if you have been living under a rock right now or living in a cave and you do not understand that there is something monumental right now happening on this planet, you're like you've literally been, you dug your head and you stuck in the sand, because there is so much occurring right now. And I'm going to kind of give like a stabilization of that, and information. And the subject matter of what we talked about is everything is happening as it should. And I know that sounds really crazy, because you look at the world right now, and I mean, 2015, watch out. Okay, this is the year where, crazy gets just unsurmountable, even more crazy. I mean, it even started off with a bang, and it just it's escalating. I mean, there's a crescendo of one thing after another. It's like the world has gone mad, and every madness out there is being unleashed. And I hear it everywhere I go. I see it. I live it. I feel it on a vibrational level.
Yeah.
So the
it's
bottom
driving me
line
crazy because of what I feel.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's very difficult, and that is one of the reasons why I don't want to say I was forced to come out, but on some level, yeah, I what I've done for individuals in the last 11 years, I have to stabilize and give support to those who are just besides themselves with all goings on. And there are layers to this. I mean, there are so many layers to this subject. I wouldn't even know in a 2-hour conversation that we could even hit it. I mean, I'm going to hit like maybe 1.2% of what the information. I mean, it's about wrapping your brain around stuff. Gonna be guided in a way that is gently going to expose people to this information. Okay, what is happening right now is fractal patterns are coming to full closure. And what a fractal pattern is when, we have all these wars, war after war, year after year after year. They're the same exact wars. There's nothing different about it. You can name it Desert Storm, or you can label it whatever language you choose to label it. Bottom line, it's a repetition pattern program system that's being played out. And right now, everything comes to a closure because that's science. And that's what's happening now. All these patterns are coming to complete fruition. They're just looping into completion. And when you have that, you're going to have chaos, okay? And chaos precedes change. And as they say, it is darkest before the light, darkest before the dawn.
Yes.
So what we're seeing is essentially just that. You know, I didn't watch TV for years. I'm not a TV person. I mean, even though I've been really tightly knit in film and television, I didn't watch the news. I didn't watch television. You know, for a long, long time. And just recently, I'm living in a place where there is a television. And if I'm supposed to know something, the universe will get that message to me. Whether I'm watching TV or radio, I mean, I didn't watch anything. I would know of a certain event that would happen. And now that I'm in a home with the TV, I've been watching, and I am like, wow, a lot has occurred in a very short period of time, and everything is moving at such a fast rate right now. I mean, it's like even people are like, wow, where did the day go? You know, I mean, I woke up and then it's time. This time I didn't accomplish much. The time ratio is changing. Our bodies are changing. Everything is morphing into this new reality, but the old reality has to break down in order for this new one. So back to the subject of everything's happening just as it should. It is.
Mm-hmm.
The minute you label something bad, good, or negative, you judge it. Okay? The minute you judge something, you stop the growth and you stop the movement. Okay. Certain events and sequences take place so that other events can manifest. And I'll kind of explain that. I mean, that sounds really awful to some people, like wow, this huge catastrophe. How could you even say that catastrophe was good? Well, you know, we talked about this with you. Our perception of viewing a situation is everything. Okay. I'm going to give you kind of an example because I'm one of those people that talks through parables and examples. That kind of works best for me. And in order to do that, this is what I'm going to do, Kirk. We're going to stay on this topic. This is going to be the topic. Everything is as it should be, okay? But I'm going to go on a roundabout way, and I'm going to end up with that particular topic. Does that sound good?
Actually, sometimes that's the way I teach. So, yeah, go for it.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through my awakening, and that way I'm going to share specific points of interest that occurred with me. That way, because people learn, essentially, from what other people have experienced. You can go to school and you can read all the books you want to read, but bottom line is, people generally learn from behavior patterns from other. We watch people. So what I'm going to do, and this is going to probably be helpful for a lot of your listeners, like I'm going to share my story. I'm coming out right now. I mean, I'm going to tell you what occurred in my life, and there's very few people. And I have a whole bunch of tissue right here because I might tear up a little bit.
Take your time.
It's been really volatile for me. And this is what's really interesting, because timing is everything. And I look at numbers, I look at dates, I look at sequences. I'm always looking in that way. And 2004, February 6th, is when I woke up, and that's Friday. Okay, today's Wednesday. That's this Friday. So I was like, wow, look at that piece, Michelle. That's pretty monumental. I mean, I see how that's coming full circle for me.
Oh, yeah.
Totally full circle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of, I have so much happened to me in 11 years. So I'm going to try and do the Reader's Digest version. I'm going to try to put it all in there. So
let me say something real quick here.
Sure.
I just want to throw in something real quick. What Michelle's
certainly
about to tell you is that it's not. I've heard people say this to me. Oh, you have a special gift. I'm a Qigong master. I use the title anyway. I know how to manipulate energy. There's other things that I know how to do. People have always come to me and said, oh, you have a special gift. And I'm going, no, I don't have a special gift. I learned how to do something that you can do. And people still want to deny that they have the ability. Well, this is what Michelle is talking about when she says, this is why we kind of titled the show, Coming Out of the Closet, basically. And I said, well, how else do you describe somebody who's just realized who she is, has been doing it for years, and just said, okay, I've been doing this semi-privately for years. Now it's just time to go, hi, world, here I am.
Yeah.
You can learn this stuff. This is what she's going to talk about. So I'm sorry, that just had to go.
No, that was perfectly stated. Thank you so much. No, I called all the past 11 years my phase 1, and then now I'm stepping into my phase 2, which is the remainder part of my being here. So it's so funny. You hit the nail on the head. I'm going to share stuff that people are more awake now. I mean, the language that we speak, like metaphysics, energy. I mean, I was in the store yesterday, and people just talk to me for no reason. This beautiful man sitting there just stirs up this conversation with me, and he says, everything happens for a reason. I'm like, you got it. That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. So people are understanding the language. So everybody's waking up, and it came in waves. I mean, you can't jump an entire planet all at once consciously. You can't. It has to come in waves. We're on the 8th wave of consciousness. So there's 8 waves ahead of us. So I'm even just so surprised when I go somewhere and someone will just start talking to me, and they will start talking the language. I mean, I'm like right on. We're right there. So that is why it was time for me to come out, because we're there. So I'm going to give language and situations for other people to relate to and have their what I call light bulb moment or aha moment. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start out with my childhood. And the weird word, the weird word is a very good word to describe me and my childhood. We set up scenarios for ourselves when before we incarnate into this realm. We set up certain what I call non-negotiable hits, meaning you have to go through this experience for your soul's growth. Okay, so I came into a family that was just volatile. I mean, my childhood was volatile. I was born in actually I have dual citizenship. I was born in Alabama, but I have citizenship in Montreal, in Canada as well. So when I was born, I was very conscious being. I mean, even when I was 5 years old, I just was I would just like, wow, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here again. This is okay. I get that. And I was just a really strange child. I didn't function in a realm of what other people function in. I didn't
Michelle,
like school. Yes?
Let me ask you a quickie question. You just made me think of something here. Some friends of mine back in Chicago, where I used to live, used to say, we used to talk about it, when a baby is born and it's an old soul, you can look in the baby's face and you can see it's kind of like looking like, I'm here again.
Exactly. And that is so funny because, wow, when my daughter was born, I had my daughter at home. I had a midwife, and I have 3 children, and I didn't do the drug thing. I've never done any kind of drugs. But when I had my daughter, Britton, and she was born on my son's bed, and I was holding her, I looked at her, and I just, she kind of freaked me out. Because I was like, wow, this little girl is just phenomenal. And I knew it. I felt as if she was, wiser than me. I could see it. I mean, literally, I could see it. So that is so true, and that is what I essentially was. I didn't relate to people. I didn't relate to kids. I didn't like school at all. I mean, you couldn't. My mom couldn't get me up to go half the time, and I couldn't wait to get home. I didn't have friends because I couldn't really relate to the children. I spent the majority of my childhood at the library. Every summer, that's where I went. I had my library card and my bicycle, and my mom finally got me a basket because I'd come home with handfuls of books, and she's like, well, I have to get you a bike or you're going to crash and burn, So that's what I did. I enjoyed it. I got so much pleasure and comfort in my aloneness. I didn't relate to anybody, and I was also very balanced as a child. I was a very balanced female. I did have a best friend for a while, and he was a guy. I relate really well to men, to male energy, and he was my best friend. And we hung out a lot, but not a lot because I would do my thing. I liked being alone. So for years, that was my childhood. Okay, go to school, get up, do that, go to the library. And I'd come home with tons of books, and I would just bam, 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 just go through these books. And that was pretty much my childhood. But also, this may blow people away, I was a Jehovah's Witness for 30 years of my life. Okay, I was in an organized religion that was so controlling and so powerful. And I just kind of sat back and I watched it. I've always watched. That's what I've done. I'm a watcher. I don't interact. I've always felt like when I was little that I had this invisible notepad and a pencil, and I was always like writing stuff down, like, okay, this doesn't work. You don't want to do that. That causes this, and when that happens, that happens. Literally, that's my childhood.
Yeah.
And my family and I, we were like gypsies. Okay, we went from country to country. Okay, I didn't stay in a school long enough to really even connect with anybody. I went from Canada to California, to Canada to California. It was just nonstop. So I'm well adjusted. Like, you can stick me in the North Pole tomorrow and I will do just fine. It takes me seconds to adjust somewhere. So I'm really well adjusted. So on some level, some people might think that that's really negative. Like, wow, how could you do that? I don't see it as a negative. That was like such a blessing to me because I can go anywhere and completely melt into whatever experience I'm having. So what happened is my father was an alcoholic, and I grew up with such volatile experiences at home. It was as if me and my brother didn't really exist because there was the traumatic drama of the codependent pain between my mother and father constantly. And that's also why we moved from here to there to here. It was just the jobs, the work, the money. And I literally just kind of sat back and watched it. I never really got affected by it. It was really interesting. I never really got emotionally affected by it. I was just watching. And my brother got extremely affected by it. And it is also why my mom became a Jehovah's Witness when I was young. So I had a religion telling me all this dogma, and I had all these other experiences of my childhood. So that was my childhood in a nutshell. And I basically lived at the library, and I didn't have friends. And I was really into guy stuff, and I had my dolls, and then I had a collection of Hot Wheels, and I started racing cars when I was like 9 years old. I hung out with my brother, and he had a go-kart, and so I was very balanced. I did all sorts of things. Okay, but I was strange. I was, and I admittedly know that now. I wasn't common, and it didn't dawn on me until, in hindsight, you look back into your life, you go, wow, okay, that's why. I get that piece. And now I'm gonna. So that's my basically my childhood in a nutshell. So now I'm gonna go to February 6, 2011, pretty much, and I'm gonna back up a little bit. Okay. I've been very successful in my life, despite my upbringing, and I've done a lot of things, so I have a lot of experience, in business and stuff under my belt. So me and my second husband, I'm trying to figure out how to put this into pieces right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you take about a minute break, and we'll just run a commercial and give you time to put your thoughts together. And we'll be right back.
Great. That'll work.
We'll be right back with our guest, Michelle Vaughn.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Hi, this is Lisa Avebury, and I am with Sacred Introvert Retreat Tours. We're heading off to Glastonbury this May, and we hope you'll join us. So check it out, sacredintrovert.com. And I'm at K-Wave 6 Radio, and I'm feeling super honored and blessed to be here. Have a beautiful day.
Are you ready to put an end to thinking about how you wish it were and take action? Take this step to find out more by going to coachingbyria.com. And you can receive your free consultation session with Coach Ria. Coach Ria is a certified professional life coach with a passion to help make the difference in the world.
Hi, this is Al Sussman, the author of Changing Times, 101 Days That Shaped a Generation, published by Parading Press. And you're listening to the always interesting Kirk Spencer on K-Wave 6 Radio.
Always interesting, huh? Okay, anyway, we're back with Michelle Vaughn. And Michelle, we took a break just so you could get your thoughts together. Are you ready to continue?
Yes, I'm ready. I had a drink of water. My voice is kind of going, but I'm going on. So this is probably the most profound part of it. That is what I call the meat and potatoes. My kids were raised. My kids essentially were pretty much out of the home. I think my youngest son was still living at the house, and at the time, me and my husband became monumentally successful in a way where I didn't have to work. My life changed technically overnight. I mean, literally, we were, your typical type middle class family. To then we went to the millions within like overnight kind of thing, which I actually assisted with I put my husband through school, and I was working in the film business and yada, yada, yada. So I came to a point in my life where I had collected so much stuff. I mean, when you have a lot of money and you have the ability to collect, and you do. I mean, we bought a huge house in LA and overlooking the hills, and I mean, beautiful. I had beautiful furniture and yada, 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 yada. So there was let me say this. I in 1999 I stopped being a Jehovah's Witness. In 99 of December we moved to LA. My husband was working for the Nestle Corporation as a modular configurator for Nestle, and I stopped working in the film business. I just needed a break, and I just, from acting and all that stuff, it was downtime. But being that I left my religion, I didn't leave my spirituality. I still believed in God. I still believed in a higher power. My husband did not. My husband was very angry about it because he felt like he was duped. He was in it for a while, and he felt like, wow, I spent my life doing this, and this is just all not what it's cut out to be. So I never left my spirituality. I still prayed. It's always been a really big part of my life since I was born. I mean, I used to pray when I was 5 years old, like every night. So long story short, I didn't have to work anymore. My kids were essentially grown, and I had all this time on my hands. And I remember being really emotional. And I'm a really happy person. I mean, you know me. I mean, I'm always happy. I'm always, no matter what's going on in my life, I'm a happy person. So at that time, I was hitting these lows. And I was kind of crying a lot. And I was like praying, like, I'm supposed to do something. And I knew it. And I just didn't have the language or the information yet to know what that was. So I kept hearing this little voice in my head saying, go back to acting class, go back to acting class. And a lot of times when you're an actor in Los Angeles, when you understand the business of acting, there's different downtimes. There's a pilot season where there's, and then there's Christmas where there's no work. So you have these like 3 months gaps of where you're not going on auditions, and you're not on a TV show, or you're not doing so. So I kept hearing this voice say, go back to acting class, go back to acting class. And I didn't like my acting class. I didn't like class, and I essentially got into acting because I did it financially. I thought this is a great thing, but I didn't really like it. I didn't like the caste system of, okay, I'm an actor, I'm really cool. I didn't like that. I didn't like how certain people were treated. Like if you were extra, you were treated badly. If you were the actor, you were treated like, you're God. I didn't like that caste system, and I watched it. And that's the one thing I didn't like. And I also didn't like the attention when I did have parts. The camera's on you, people are looking at you. I didn't like that. So why I got into acting, go figure. I didn't know yet. I didn't have the pieces to understand why I did. I was just drawn to it. So I kept hearing this voice, go back to acting class, and I'm like, oh my God, no, why would I do that? Because I was at Playhouse West. I was in Jeff Goldblum's acting class, and I didn't really respond to Jeff's teaching. So here, back in my house, I woke up one morning, and I'm looking at all these things that I collected. I mean, I had this furniture, I had that, I had these cars, I had these diamonds, I had a safe full of diamonds, and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so I woke up, and I just said, you know what? None of this belongs to you. People think that stuff belongs to you. Well, it doesn't. None of it belongs to you. You get to have it for about 5 minutes, and then that's it. So when you're in the mode of collecting, there's a saturation point where once you have it all, what do you really have? And essentially, you don't have anything. And I knew that. So my feelings and my emotions kept getting stronger and stronger, where I thought I was premenopausal. I'm like, there is something seriously wrong with me. I was going through an emotional meltdown that I have never had. And then someone said, well, it's the empty nest syndrome. Your kids are all grown, and you're feeling that. And I'm like, no, because I'm really happy my kids are gone. I mean, I was. I was a young mother, and I raised my beautiful family. And, it was my time now. So I finally listened to the voice in my head, and I went to Jeff Goldblum's acting class in North Hollywood, and I'm sitting there, and Jeff comes out, and I went, oh, my God, what? No, why did I even listen to this? So that wasn't the point. The point was that I had to end up there to meet an actress named Nancy, and Nancy would be the pivotal point of my life. And I didn't even befriend Nancy. I kept to myself as a person. I really have never really opened up to people. So I was at the Glendale Galleria one day, and I hear this voice saying, Michelle, Michelle, Michelle. And this woman is running. She goes, and it's Nancy from my acting class. She goes, what are you doing here? I said, I live right up the hill. She goes, oh, my God. She goes, I never come to Glendale. I'm like, okay. And she's like, what are you doing? I said, just nothing. She goes, well, I came to pick up these sunglasses, and let's go to lunch. So we went to lunch, and she hands me this business card, and she says, you need to go see this woman. And I knew at that moment that woman had what I needed. And I couldn't get home fast enough till I called her. And the woman was Candace Calloway. And Candace Calloway was the pivotal tool that walked me through what I'm going to discuss now. Candace Calloway was one of 3 people who discovered muscle testing with Gordon Strokes and Daniel Whiteside. Okay, she is pivotal for all these, what do you call them? Muscle testing and what do you call acupuncture and all that stuff. She was the one who created that. Okay, so that's Candace. She also wrote a book. She also was phenomenal. She had her master's degree in kinesthesiology, I believe that is. And she had been working under the radar in La Crescenta, La Cañada, which is 10 minutes from my house. And she was monumental to what I'm going to discuss now. So I called her. Like, I got home and I got on that phone, and I had no clue about what energy was, what healing was, what metaphysics was, I was just like a clean chalkboard. I was Jehovah's Witness for 30 years. So what I knew and understood was the Bible. I mean, you asked me something about the Bible, I could tell you anything about it. I sat there and had it pounded into my brain for 30 years. So I knew nothing. I knew nothing about this, so I didn't know what she was going to do. So Nancy didn't even say she's this, and she said nothing. So I called Candace. I left a message on her phone. I said, I need to see you. I want to see you. I got your card. So I made an appointment for Friday, which is next week, right, which is February 6th. That's when I called her 11 years ago. At 1 o'clock was my spot. And I remember going there, and I had no clue as to what she was going to do. So long story short, she was a master healer, and she would talk to me and put oils on me and then do all this energy work on me. And I didn't even know you could feel that way. She had like a table where, it's kind of like when you get a massage table. She would lay me down at a table and put her hands on my head and start moving energy. And I remember the very first time I felt that, I was blown away. My eyes got the size of, quarters. I walked out of that house going, okay, something monumental just happened to me. And I had no language to put to the way I felt. I mean, I felt energy running through my body. I felt like I was levitating off the table. I mean, it was a profound feeling that I had experienced. And when I got home, I knew that I was supposed to see her. So for like a year and a half, every Friday at 1 o'clock was my slot. That was my time. I spent a year and a half with the most amazing, brilliant mind. She was the most beautiful soul. She was there for me. She essentially held my hand through my transition and my awakening process, which was so utterly painful, but yet so beautiful at the same time. And that's when my life went to hell in a handbasket. And that's usually how it goes. When you wake up, there's these, it's like you transition from one world into the next, and everything that you thought was real, it goes bye-bye. I mean, literally, it all went. I started understanding things that people are just now trying to understand. The Illuminati, the dark forces, black magic, things that the mind can do and that energy can do, and these forces have come to create this reality for us. I went down the gamut. And Candace never told me how things were, okay? She never said, okay, Michelle, this is how it is. And I never wanted her to do that. What I did for myself is all these things started happening to me. I would shake somebody's hand, and I would see, like, visions and things that were going to happen to them. It was just, it exploded in my life. And it was almost too much for my mind to wrap around, but I did. I did good. So what I did is I went out and I read books again. I went and was drawn into every book. Once I was done with one book, I got another one. Okay, I'm done with that one. I dove into books. I read like 250 books in a few year period. I read everything from quantum physics, unified field theory, Brian Greene, strand theory, spirituality, everything that I could get my hands on that was calling to me. I'd go into the bookstore and I'd say, okay, guide me. And I'd just go directly to the shelf and pick the book I was supposed to read. So I started watching because I'm a watcher. I started watching all the pieces of what was occurring in my life. So it was just me and Candace. And my abilities and my gifts just exploded. And it wasn't that I didn't already have them. I had piled. They just were being introduced to me again. I was walking into them again, but I also was conscious of what they were. When you're 5 years old and you see a spirit and you see this, you don't have language to say, "Oh, that's a spirit. That's someone who crossed over." You don't have no one teaches you that. So for you as a 5-year-old, I don't know anybody who hasn't had an experience like that. Like I met this beautiful man last night on Facebook, and I said, "Have you had experiences?" And he says, "Well, yeah." Well, no one wants to talk about it, okay? But we all technically have, and we don't have language to it. So what Candace did for me is she started putting somewhat language to my experiences. So that's when the experiences started to unravel and unfold in my life.
Michelle, can I interject something real quick? Just on what you just got through saying. There's something that I used to say when I was doing metaphysical seminars about 20 years ago, and I would tell this at the beginning of each seminar, is I cannot teach you anything new. I can only remind you of things that you already know but forgot.
Exactly. That's exactly correct. You hit the nail on the head with that. We are innately born with it all. And what has happened is we have been put in a space of forgetfulness. For most, I mean, for some people have and some people haven't. It depends on their DNA, and that's a whole other subject. So it just basically started exploding in my life, and I'll give you some ideas about that. At the time, my husband and I were flying. We were flying around the world a lot. We had a lot of business trips and pleasure trips and things like that. My husband was a computer guru, huge internet company and business and stuff like that. So we had lots of different people coming in and out of our lives and everything. So, and my life was exploding with all this information, and he was not happy about it. This was not making him happy. He essentially wanted it all to go away. And I was for many 12 years we were extremely happily married. I mean, I thought I would be with this man for the rest of my life. I was in love. I'm not the type of person that needs, I've been married most of my life, so I didn't have any kind of history with any men. I mean, this was it. He was it for me. He married me really young. He helped raise my 3 children from a previous marriage, and we were like 2 peas in a pod. I mean, I didn't have friends. I had him and I had my kids, and that was just how I function in this reality. I didn't need anything outside of that. So he was my life. And when I met Candace and everything started to come into fruition, this was not what he wanted. So it caused a rift in our marriage, and we never argued. I mean, it was just such a beautiful flow between him. I felt like he was like my soulmate. He was everything I'd ever wanted. I mean, he was a brilliant man. Even though he was young, he was a young soul. I mean, he was an old soul in a young body. I mean, he was just so profound, and that really is what I fell in love with. So long story short, there was just a disconnect between us. And at the time we were going to Montreal a lot, and there was a gentleman that let me see. Okay, I'm gonna back up. Okay. Mm-hmm. So my husband we went somewhere, and he met a gentleman who was doing the same internet business that he was doing in New York. So he lives in Montreal. His name was Daniel Asulian. And Daniel and my ex-husband, he's my ex-husband now, so I'm going to refer to him as that, wanted to connect the business together. So anyway, long story short, Daniel flew out to Los Angeles to have a meeting with my husband. I came along, and Daniel also brought a friend of his. So I shook this gentleman's hand, and what I saw was unbelievable. I mean, the flashes of information I got. I get visions. I see movies from the right. Mm-hmm. And I'm also clairvoyant and clairaudience, mm-hmm. and da-da-da-da-da. So anyway, I saw a movie. I saw this young 15-year-old being killed as I'm shaking this hand of this man I just met. And it was a very, I'm going to just plainly talk about this. It was a very sexual situation. This young girl got killed, snuff film. I don't know if you know what a snuff film is.
Yeah.
Sexual okay. Bottom line, it was a snuff film. And then all of a sudden I hear this voice, and it says, I'm Julie. My name is Julie. And this is like one of the most profound experiences I had when I first woke up. And she says, that's me. They killed me, and they made a lot of money off of this. And I was just like, it was too much. We went into the restaurant, and his friend left. And I was glad because it wasn't Daniel. Daniel flew to L.A. with his friend. And I didn't know this man from Adam, I just met Daniel. And long story short, we flew to Montreal a few months after that. And we were all eating dinner, and I look at Daniel, and I started shaking. I mean, I'm sitting there with my husband. I'm sitting there with Daniel, and I'm shaking. And they're looking at me like I've just, I'm a crazy woman. And I said, Daniel, I have to share something with you. I said, this is what I saw. And he was blown away. He says, do you know what that gentleman does? I said, no. He said, he sells porn on the internet. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. He's in the same office as Daniel was. And I also shared with him, I said, then you need to get out of that office, because what I see coming for that man is a raid. There were like police and FBI people that were going to like come after him. So anyway, that was the inkling of what was exploding in my consciousness. I would get visions and information about people like that, and it just didn't stop. It exploded to such a point that it literally just destroyed everything. My children were kind of not quite understanding it. My husband wanted nothing to do with it. And then that's when a very gifted man came into my husband's life, a gentleman by the name of Dan Pena, who lives in Scotland, who has a 50-room castle and was a multi-millionaire and made a lot of money in Exxon Oil. The minute my husband became successful, this gentleman flew from Scotland to meet with my husband. And the minute I set eyes on this man, I knew. I got information and all sorts of visions and da-da-da-da-da, long story short. So anyway, what ended up occurring was that gentleman essentially took my husband away. Okay. Literally, he left the country. My husband came home from India, and he said, I have to leave the country. He says, I don't know when I'm going to return. And granted, this was a beautiful marriage. I was so in love, and even though we were going through some difficulties, I said, okay. So long story short, he left. And I had no clue what was really going on. And then I found out that my phones were being bugged by the FBI, that my husband was doing business in a way that was not, that was not probably right.
It's clandestine.
He was doing stuff that I was unaware of. And I remember prior to a conversation when we were getting ready to go out, and he had mentioned something. He said, sometimes in business you have to do things that are not always right. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? I said, then you better be prepared to deal with the consequences of those choices. I said, because there will always be choices. And he didn't like it. He didn't like that my light and my spirituality was emerging in such a powerful way. And I remember what he told me. He says, you are no longer controllable. And that really hurt me. And I said, I didn't know I needed to be controlled. Essentially, he wanted to do it all his way without me, and this dark man from Scotland came in, essentially the Illuminati. He was into mind control and manipulation. So when I got triggered into the light, and I got triggered into my abilities and gift, my ex-husband got triggered into his darkness. So essentially, he left because he could no longer sit in my energy field. And that's when...
Let me ask you a quick question while you're still on your husband. What was the attraction, and there's a reason I'm asking for this, what was the attraction for your husband to be involved with these, let's just call them, dark forces?
Oh, money. It's always money. Okay?
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, it was money. And that's really, and that's a whole other topic. Yeah, it was money. It was money. It was status. It was essentially what most people consume, power. Because my husband, if you look at his epigenetics, his coding, he was really not. He was kind of emotionally kind of beat down. He was adopted. If you look at his epigenetics, it was like screaming at him. It was a given. It was and I essentially helped him become very, very... He didn't have two dimes to rub together when he married me. I married him because I loved him. And I essentially helped him put through school. I started working on a television show, and I said, stop working stop working, and I'm going to put you through school. And so I essentially got him... I basically put him on the track, okay? And then he became enormously successful and went down the darkest road you could ever possibly imagine. And And he got involved so bad with this situation that he couldn't even stay at Dan Peña's castle. When he left from New York to Scotland, he called me, and he was so shaken up. I mean, he was really shaken up because they were coming after him. He had hitmen after him from his partnership with Daniel Asulian. Daniel Asulian became partners with him essentially to wipe him out because they were competitors doing the same exact thing. So Daniel talked him into becoming a partner to actually just take him out. So my ex had hitmen after him, and my phones were bugged, and my whole life went. I mean, it was a book and a movie and a sequel. I mean, I got asked to write an autobiography about it. I mean, it went from 0 to 60. So not only was I going through waking up process, wrapping my mind around all these abilities I was capable of doing now, I was dealing with this. And I was dealing with my youngest son who literally could not emotionally handle it because he worked for the company that my husband, he was one of the computer techs. And I had it all on my plate. I was also at the time working with clients. I was healing, doing exactly what Candace was doing. I was working with so many people at the time. And when he left, my whole world came shattering down. I mean, literally, I went to the ground. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was so excruciatingly painful. I had never felt pain like that ever before. And I understood at that moment why people cut themselves. Cutters, people who emotionally take a razor blade themselves just to feel the pain. Yeah. And I never harmed myself. I've never done any kind of drugs or pot or anything. I mean, I'm like a clean vessel. And I remember when he left, I cried for like almost 4 years. I mean, it was so excruciating that I literally had infections in my eyes because I cried so much. My entire rib cage was in so much pain because I would just fall down in the shower and just curl up in a fetal position and just start crying. It was like part of me was just torn to pieces. I'm going to start crying now.
Hang in there. What we'll do here, let me do this. Let me run some commercials. We'll take about, 4 minutes. And, Michelle, you can regather yourself. And those who are waiting to call in, we'll take calls when Michelle says so, which will be after the commercial break sometime. Anyway, stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Batzion Saskine-Sachs of www.bat-zion.name, N-A-M-E. You're listening to K-Wave 6 Radio with Kirk Spencer.
Hi, this is Pat Kammer, author of Love's Voice Changes You, Book 1. And I now have Book 2, which is called Hello Awesome, Message from Spirit in Pat's Patters. Buy your book from Amazon.com.
Do you get writer's block or tongue-tied when you try to write or talk? Need a wordsmith for a script, article, or research paper? Let K-Wave 6 Productions help you with all of your audio, visual, editing, and language translation needs for your business or hobby. Does the thought of creating a website give you chills? We also have webmasters to help you with all your website needs. Remember K-Wave 6 Productions. www.kwave6productions.tk or email us at info.kwave6productions.tk.
Hi, this is Duke Mayo Rockefeller. Please check out my humanitarian organization, www.livechildlive.org. You are listening to K-Wave 6 Radio with our esteemed radio host, Kirk Spencer.
everybody. This is Suzanne Perry, founder of LoveIsn'tHurt.tv. You're listening to K-Wave 6 Radio.
Hi, this is Amy Young of JSJ Phone. We are providers of junior iPhone, iPad, iPod, also Samsung, Sony, Nokia parts and accessories at very good quality and low prices. We sell to individuals, and the companies have 3 to 5 days delivery time by DHL or UPS. We do delivery in 24 hours after payment confirmed. For more information, see our website www.jsjphone.com www.jsjphone.com. Contact me, Amy Young, mailbox emy@jsjphone.com or by phone 0086 13418696395 by Skype emy.yang2012.
Yes, honey. This is Marlo Wright of mbymarlo.com, and you're listening to K-Wave 6 Radio.
Hello and welcome back to K-Wave 6 Radio. This is Kirk Spencer. My guest today is Michelle Vaughn. She is still dealing with the emotional side of remembering some of the things from the past. So just going to check. Michelle, are you okay? Do you want to skip past that and move on, or you tell me?
No, actually, I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Oh. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm still sort of I'm not processing. I'm just clearing the last bit of it. But anyway, back to where it was. What happened was there was a lot of mind control, a lot of manipulation, a lot of the dark forces entered my life through my husband. As I said, my phones were being bugged at the time, and my husband had hitmen after him, so he had to leave the castle, and he went undercover. He went into the ghettos of Mumbai, India, and he could no longer contact me on the phone. On some level, he loved me tremendously, and he was also trying to protect me. And he told me, he said, "You're being watched, and you're being bugged right now." And I knew that, and he had to leave Dan Pena's castle because he was at risk. Dan was at risk. So Dan tried to protect him and cover him for a while. So my ex-husband ended up having 3 armed bodyguards with AK-47s 24 hours a day protecting him. And at one point he nearly got killed. The hitmen that Daniel actually sent him nearly took him out. And I had incidences also with sniper attack in guns, and my house was police taped off, and bullets were being pulled from my walls, and my daughter had come to stay with me. She had broken up with her girlfriend. Excuse me. She had broken up with her boyfriend, so my daughter came to live with me for about 2 weeks, and I'm like, "You have to leave." I wanted none of my family. I wanted my kids nowhere around me. So there was a lot happening in a very short time, and Candace was still walking me through it. Candace was still helping me, and in between that time, I still had these experiences. I was having this experience, that dream, and then I'd meet that person. I mean, it was just out of control. And I was healing. I was in so much pain, and then I had that psychic attack from that entity, and I mean, it went on and on. And then there was okay, I'm trying. There's so much happened in such a short period in my mind, right? And I haven't even talked about this in a really long time. So I'm kind of looking at the pieces right now. So please excuse me if I bounce around.
That's okay. That's why I'm being quiet.
I know you're so sweet. Thank you so much. so much happened in such a short period of time, in the sequence and the time that it played out. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is Dan Pena was what I call a black magic wizard. He knew how to manipulate energy on a very high level. So when my ex-husband ended up in Mumbai undercover and hiding out, Dan Pena proceeded to come after me on a emotional level. He figured, okay, she's down, her husband's gone, she doesn't know what's going to happen to her. All these things have occurred emotionally. I'm going to come in and swoop in on her. And that's essentially what he tried to do. And I wouldn't. He emailed me and gave me his private telephone number, and he told me to call him anytime I wanted to. And I wouldn't engage. I wouldn't engage with it because I knew exactly what was going on. And at the time, Candace was still alive, and she was still helping me, and she was still walking me through all the insanity. And then she no longer could see me physically, okay? I would do sessions with her. I started doing sessions with her on the phone, and I thought, this is really strange. Why can't I come and see you? And she wouldn't respond to me. And this is a woman that I've been working with for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And the last conversation I had with her, she says, I'm not doing well, Michelle. She says, I'm having difficulties. And even though I was gifted, I wasn't allowed to see those difficulties because I'm a scanner. A scanner is someone that can psychically look at a person and see broken artery, cancer cells growing. I can see where they have pins and needles in their bodies. I can see, if their arteries are blocked. I'm a scanner. I'm like an X-ray machine psychically. I can look at someone and just go beam, 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 beam. Okay. I was not allowed to see Candace. And Candace worked on me, and I'm going to start crying again. Candace was dying of cancer, and I didn't know that. And she was there for me through so much. And if it hadn't been for her, I would have not made it. She was my rock when my whole world just totally shattered. I mean, she held my hand through the whole process of me waking up, of all this stuff happening. And here was my beautiful, beautiful mother-like being to me. And she was doing a healing session over the phone because she's a remote healer also. And I could hear her voice change. And I could hear, like, her jaw was, like, kind of clattering. I'm like, are you okay? She says, I'm fine, dear. She used to always call me dear. And she worked on me. She goes, I have to go now. And that was the last time I ever talked to her. I tried to call back about 2 weeks later, and there was no call. And finally, I got a hold of her, and it was her daughter on the phone. And she says, Candace passed away. And I was like, oh, my God. She said she passed away 2 weeks ago. Candace worked on me till like a few days before she died. She knew that I needed her, and she was there for me. And she left. I mean, she left at a time where I needed her the most. And that always happens, right? I mean, when you need someone the most, they're gone. And I was like, oh, my God, I can't do this without you. Don't you dare leave me. And I was gutted. I mean, I literally went down, man. I went down. And I was having I had a group session on even despite all the stuff that was going on in my life, the hitman, the hits, my husband, the emotional stuff. I had a group at my house. Every Thursday night, I conducted a healing session for whoever showed up. Okay, so my house every 30, got crowded with people. So I was working with independent clients, and I was also working with the group. So she left. That was it. She was gone. So Michelle essentially had to find her wings. I had to fly on my own. And then after that is when it really started getting intense. I mean, it was just every week there was something monumental that was coming for me. I call them hits. I was just getting hit psychically, emotionally, financially. I mean, it was a bam, 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 bam. It was monumental. And I had a dream that I was going to get in a car crash. I knew I was going to get in a crash. So I was like, okay, I'm prepared for that. So when's that going to happen? So sure enough, I'm in my beautiful sports car. I had we had a lot of money, so I had a lot of, I had several cars, and I had my Turbo Carrera, which was beautiful. It was all custom, and I used to race Porsche and da-da-da-da. So I'm in Hollywood in my car. I'm in Hollywood on Highland, and all of a sudden across the street plowing this huge car comes, and a Porsche is not a very big car. It's a small car. She just like T-bones me, and I spin around the car, and I run into another car. And I knew the car accident was coming because I had 3 months precognitive. I saw it coming. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, here's the car accident. When I was in the car, it was the strangest thing. I think one of the, I'm strange is relative in my life. So the whole it went into slow motion. I mean, time just completely disappeared. It was like I was in that car for an hour as it was spinning and turning, and all of a sudden I couldn't see anything. There was white light, and I was suspended in this animated state. And I was just in this experience going, okay, this is just unbelievable. And unless you've experienced that, you don't know what I'm talking about. So all of a sudden the car, so all of a sudden the car comes to an end. And I get out, and my car is my car was totaled. I mean, totally totaled. I had people on Highland taking photos of my car because they're like, oh, dude, your car, taking photos, and I didn't even care. I got out to see if the man that I hit was hurt. He wasn't. So I looked down the road, and the woman that hit me was trying to get back in her car. So she got arrested on the scene, and then I'm sitting there. I just walk out completely unscathed, untouched, undamaged, anything. And that was my hit, that the universe saying, Michelle, no matter what happens, whether they try to shoot you, they try to do this to you, you're not going anywhere. So that was what I heard in my head. And they said, you had to go through that car accident to really understand that. And I went, okay, got it. And then the ambulance came, and everybody came, and I mean, it was a big ordeal. They wanted me to, and I walked away. They were like so shocked that nothing happened to me. And the police called me that night and said, you know what, you're going to have major whiplash for what you've occurred, and you should go to the doctor the next day. Well, I didn't. I didn't have anything. I went to the gym. I worked out. I did my usual what I do. So that stuff started occurring also on top of everything else that was occurring. So it was just a barrage of nonstop craziness for so many years. And what ended up happening is my ex-husband finally he would email me, by the way. The only contact he would have is through email. And he was a computer coder. So every email he sent me, he changed the IP address on it. An IP address tells you what country or what place. Well, he would go into the grid and change the IP address because he either knew that they were watching my computer. He didn't want anybody finding him. So he was smart. So the only contact that I had with him was through computer. And long story short, he says, I kept asking, are you coming back? Are you coming back? And he would say, yes, I'm coming to and I believed him. I believed him. I wanted my husband back. Despite the lies and despite, I loved him, And the bottom line is, I'm like, he's not coming back. I'm like, you probably can't even come back into the United States. And that was the truth. And I finally asked him, I emailed him, I said, you need to let me go. I said, because you're holding my life hostage, and it's not okay. And I said, I want a divorce. And he didn't respond for a while. And he essentially, his idea was, she loves me that much that she'll eventually come my way and leave the country and come be with me. That was his idea. Well, it didn't go down that way. And after Candace had passed away, I was working with tons of clients. I was healing people with cancer. I was working with sexual abuse. I was working with a lot of celebrities. I mean, I was essentially doing exactly what Candace did. I was working with people who were mind controlled from the government and everybody under the sun who was sent to me. I never advertised what I did. Okay, I didn't have a website. I didn't have a business card. I came to the conclusion that, okay, I have these abilities. I have these gifts. If you're supposed to meet me and I'm supposed to work with you, that's how it's going to go. So I didn't do your typical third-dimensional advertising. I just went by the energy. I moved within the field of the ocean, and people met me who were supposed to meet me. I met the most amazing people. And I remember I was working with an entire family. I was working with the grandkids, the daughters, the whole entire family. I was working over the phone. I was remote healing them. One of them had terminal cancer, and I worked with her for 6 months, and she went into remission, and So anyway, one of them said, you need to talk to Stuart Swerdlow. And I went, okay, that's not a name I have heard. So Candace and I worked for a year and a half, and then Stuart Swerdlow came into my life a year later. Stuart Swerdlow was essentially worked for United States intelligence. He was recruited at a really, really early age. His great-great-grandfather was the first president of the Soviet Union. He was essentially sort of like what they call a super soldier. He worked at secret programs like the Montauk projects, and I mean, he was an amazing remote viewer. He was an amazing everything. I mean, he was just phenomenal. So I had his number on the refrigerator for about a year. I never contacted him for about a year. Candace was gone. I was working with everybody and doing, all the healing stuff and trying to take care of my family and take care of myself. And then after a year, I finally called him. It was time. Timing's everything. So I called Stuart, and I connected with him. And I worked on and off for about a year with Stuart. Stuart helped me with my remote viewing skills and So he also was responsible in somewhat saving my life on some level, because he would kind of give me, information, and he called Dan Pena the wizard lizard. That was his name. He says he's a wizard lizard, Michelle. He knows what he's doing. He's black magic. And I went, okay, I don't even know what that is. So anyway, I spent a lot of time with Stuart on and off, having him kind of walk me through the last pieces of finishing what Candace started, you could say. So long story short, I finally got the divorce. It took me 2 years to get divorced from my ex-husband, because he didn't want to sign the divorce decree, because he was still in hopes that he could, draw me back in and pull me back in.
Yeah.
And it was really, really tough. So finally I got the divorce, and things were actually kind of coming back up for me. I was being introduced to the most amazing people. I was still in my big house in Glendale, and I was there by myself. It was almost 4,000 square feet. So that's where everybody came to see me. I sometimes had people spend the night, and I would work with them privately. And one of my girlfriends, who was a healer, said, Michelle, I want you to have my friend come and stay with you. She's going through a divorce. She's in Oregon, and she wants to hang out. So I ended up having this lady come and live with me for about a month. She was going through a difficult time, and I went through my divorce, so I kind of was a support for her, and she was wonderful. And she's like, I want to introduce you to someone. She says, I want to introduce you to Susie Cameron. And I went, okay. So Susie Cameron is the wife of James Cameron, who did the film Avatar, who did Avatar. Okay, so we go to Malibu, and I meet Susie Cameron, who is a phenomenal woman, by the way. She is just unbelievable what she's done for humanity. So I was going over to James and Susie Cameron's house in Malibu Canyon for some months and things like that. And there was a particular engagement party that Susie was putting on for the Nobel Peace Prize winner Muhammad Yunus from Africa. Susie and Muhammad Yunus had ties with Africa. They were doing a lot of things for the Africa women and the children, and so they were really close. So he flew in to this engagement at their house, and at the time there was a lot of fires in Malibu. It was a really bad time. So that particular day, the party was actually moved from the Cameron home to Jim Cameron's offices in Santa Monica. So anyway, last minute, we all get these private messages and said, party's moving, we're going to Santa Monica. I'm like, okay, great. So we go to the party, and there's a line outside, and we had to sign NDAs agreement. An NDA agreement is a non-disclosure agreement, meaning that you can't discuss what you've seen and discuss what you're privy to. So I'm in the offices of James Cameron. I didn't even know he was doing Avatar. I wasn't privy to the information. So you're walking around Jim Cameron's offices, and in the room there was all these photos of the characters and all this information, and I kind of looked at it and I was like, well, it looks like an interesting film, scientific, da 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 da. So then I got a special private invite to go to a special screening at CBS in Los Angeles. And I'm sitting, there was like 150 people that were invited at the time. And Jim Cameron was there, and James Horner was there, and James Horner had done the score to the movie, and da-da-da-da-da. So Jim still was in pre-production. He hadn't, or post-production. He still hadn't finished the film. So Jim gets up and talks all about the film and Avatar and, this and this and this and this. And what he offered was like we didn't get to see the whole film. We got to see pieces and bits of what was in production, what was finished. So I had no clue as to what I was watching. The universe brings me to people, and I don't always know why I meet them or why I'm experiencing until it plays out. I call them pieces. Each piece has information for you, and each piece goes along the line, and you stay in the moment, and you take in the information of that piece that's right in front of you. So as the screen comes down and Jim's done talking, I'm watching Avatar. I'm watching all these pieces. And I went, oh, my God. Avatar went global. Okay, it was the first real information that I had, besides the Matrix film. When the Matrix films came out, everybody learned about the layers of deceit and the layers of information that were being hidden from humanity. So that was the first film that came out, and that was released to the United States, okay? So Avatar went global. It had a global release date all over the world. And I'm sitting there, and I went, now I know why I met Jim and Susie Cameron. Because in that film, it is essentially what's going on here, right? This world is being destroyed by very dark-seated energies, okay, that have been in power for a really long time. And the lead character of the film is a female, and the young man who essentially comes in and tries to destroy their planet, right? So she ends up being the hero of the movie. She ends up saving him and smacking him around a little bit, saying, hey, snap out of it. You're selfish. All you care about is money, and you're destroying the planet. And that was what Avatar was. Okay? So also there was a part in the scene where remember when the gentleman, his body was in the wheelchair, he couldn't function. They took his soul out and they put it into another soul. Okay.
Right.
When I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness, because that's real. Okay, what people don't understand is that's what they do. The United States government and all these other secret shadow governments, they do that. They can literally pop a soul out of a person that's dying and inject it into another body. So when I saw that, and that was how long ago? Avatar was released, 2007, 8, 9? 5-6 years ago, as I recall?
I saw it a long time ago as well. I don't remember the date,
So I thought, wow, look at how much is waking up right now. Not a lot of people understood that was real, but I did, because I was working in the midst of that. I was working with the super soldiers. I was working with people who, even Stuart Swiglow was privy to all that information and the secret projects that he worked on. So I was floored. I'm like, this is fantastic. This is going global. This is what we need. So that's when the verse kind of gave me a reprieve, and it said, okay, great, Michelle, you went through all of this garbage. You learned your gifts, you learned your abilities, And now, guess what? You're here to really blast off. So then that's when I worked with a lot of people, a lot of people. But that's when I really started to just start meeting people. I met the Lakers, the basketball team, the Lakers. There are 5 psychologists. This is a lot of stuff people don't know. The Laker team has 5 psychologists that work with the players, okay? And Kobe Bryant at the time was going, obviously at the time, everybody knows, he was going through some difficulties. And I met Patrick, who was part of that psychology team. And Patrick's like, Michelle, come on, I need you. I need you to do a scan on Kobe. So I ended up going to the Laker game. I'm not into sports or anything like that. So I ended up going to the Laker game, meeting Kobe. And what I want to talk about psychologists is I've studied psychology, okay? I did the textbook, Okay, so you have a regular psychologist, and that psychologist can't go into what I call the epigenetic coding or the imprinting of the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick's like, we've been sitting at the table, banging our heads on the table, Michelle. There's something up with Kobe. There's a block. We And I went to the game, I met Kobe, and I just took a look at Kobe, and I scanned him. I went bam, 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 there you go. And in 10 minutes, he's like, oh, my God. I'm like, there you go. Now get to work. And what regular psychology can't see is what energy is. Okay, I'm reading energy. Okay, I'm reading the pain body, the emotional body, the energy body, the etheric body. Well, a textbook isn't going to be able to teach you how to do that. You can have all the head knowledge and understanding, but if you don't know how to read code, read information, you're not going to understand that. So,
Michelle,
I started working.
Let me ask you something here. I know that you have a lot of information that I've known over the past couple of years or so that we've known each other. And what you said at the beginning of the show is true. We're not going to be able to get through all of this. You wanted to open the phone lines to talk to people. There are people that are waiting to talk with you right now. At least there's one.
Okay.
And do you want to finish that story and go into this, or do you want to take your caller now?
Give me 10 more minutes. I'll wrap this up. So it's 9:27. So give me about 10 or 5 more minutes. I just want to kind of summarize the whole thing because it was so sporadic. I mean, it came out. Okay, so
yeah.
So bottom line is the world is changing. Okay, we are going through a monumental transition, and there are 2 groups splitting off. Okay, into the world. There are those who are not making the leap to consciousness, and there's those who aren't making the leap. The ones who aren't making the leap are the ones that are going to get caught up in all the pain, in all the angst, in all the craziness, in all the fear. They haven't done their healing work. Their souls have not signed up for the ride. So they want to stay. Their souls have chosen to stay in that reality. The new group that's coming up is not in that reality. That reality is the new group is based on love, peace, oneness, the collective consciousness. We're here to balance the male and female energy out. And that is also what the avatar was about, is balancing the male and female energy. The reason why the global planet is in such a disarray is because male and female energy has been completely torn apart. There hasn't been balance. Okay, so that energy is all coming into fruition. The female is rising up. The male is acknowledging the female within him, and there's acceptance, and there's forgiveness, and there's love. And the desensitizing of humanity is in the progress of becoming more heartfelt. Like when I do my work, I don't make a choice or a movement until I feel my whole body move. I don't make choices based on my mind. I make choices based on how I feel. And the darkness has created a reality where they don't want anybody to feel anything. And when you can do that, you can control an entire planet, which has happened. Okay, so the heart chakra is the pivotal chakra that allows us to access all this information that I've talked about. Your abilities, your skills, your psychic awareness. Your heart is the center. Okay. When you connect with that, you can no longer be controlled. Like what happened to me, they wanted to control me. And I don't have that concept of control. I never really have. And I don't have any fear. That's the thing. I came through in this lifetime with zero fear. So when I was being shot at and I was in the car crash, there's no fear with me. I don't relate to what fear is. So I understand it very well because I work with it. But bottom line is everything's changing to a high frequency. And the chaos in the world is proof of that. So the powers that be no longer have the control. And that's what's happening. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so chaotic right now. And I'm here to say, embrace your feminine. I'm here to say, don't be afraid. Understand it, but don't be afraid, because it is a scientific sequence of events and numbers that are coming into alignment that have to happen. That's the bigger picture.
Indeed. Matter of fact, that's something that I do with my shows. The Thoughts for Growth is just trying to tell people, just listen to the information, see what's going on, and then you'll know what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
I was just going to say, it's just not trying to tell people what to do. It's just, here, see what is, and then you'll know what to do. Because you have a special thing that you do that is going to help not only yourself, but eventually other people.
Exactly. Each person came here with a purpose. It's their job and responsibility to find out what that purpose is. When I work with my clients, I don't tell them what to do. I mean, I'm like don't put that responsibility on me, because if you want me to have your power, I'll have your power. I said, but every single answer is within inside every single person. And when Candace worked with me, she never told me anything. She let me unfold, and she let the universe reflect back to me what was my reality. And when I have a client sitting in front of me, the first thing I say is, don't believe a word I say. Don't even. I'm going to tell you stuff, and I'm going to share stuff with you, but don't believe it. If what I'm saying is truth, the universe will reflect every word back to you. I said, but go out there and find your own truth, because you've been duped. You've had a lot of things outside yourself telling you how it is, and now it's time to look within. And looking within is looking into the heart. There are more electrical impulses in your heart than there are in your brain, and not a lot of people understand that. There's a reason for that, okay? Your heart is more powerful than you can possibly imagine. And when I make choices, and when I tell people to learn how to make choices, don't make a choice if you don't feel it. Don't make a choice if you say, well, this is how I think. No, don't do that, because your brain will always misguide you. I make heart movements, and that's what I call them. I call them heart movements. If I'm presented with a choice, I won't make a choice until I feel my whole body moving in that direction. If my body isn't moving in that direction, I'm not doing it. I don't care what my head says, because my intuition and my instincts will never let me down, and it has never let me down, because I listen to my heart and I feel. I'm a feeler. I'm an ultimate, true sensitive. I mean, I'm so sensitive I can't even kill a bug. I have to scoop the bug up and stick it outside.
Take it outside.
Right, I do. I do, because I feel everything, and I've learned how to not do that. I've protected myself, obviously, but do not make choices because you think you're forced to. Because when we're put in positions where we're forced to make a choice, we're doing it because we're forced, not because of how we feel.
Yeah.
You have to feel the choice. The way to feel the choice is to do your clearing work and your emotional release work. You can't get to the core of your heart with all your baggage. So you have to cry. You have to cry. You have to feel the pain. And there's a whole lot of pain involved in it. Let me tell you, I've seen it, and I've worked with so much pain. And the only way to get to the other side of that and to find the true essence of who you are You got to walk through it. And I'm sorry, there's no easy way, and there's no fast ticket, and there's nothing. You have to do the work, and a lot of people don't want to do the work. So the people that don't want to do the work are going to that direction, and the people who are doing the work are going to the higher frequency. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So there you go.
All right. Can we take our first caller?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. Hopefully it's been there for quite some time. You're on the air, caller. Who are we speaking with?
Hi, my name is Julia. Thank you for taking my call.
Hi, Julia.
Hello,
You've been
Julia.
waiting for a long time. Thanks for the patience.
Yeah. I'm in the process of transformation myself. I'm going through divorce after 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
And, just thinking about, finishing up the process and moving into the next phase of my life.
Exactly.
It's just a big, wow.
Yep,
So,
it's the big spin out, I call it. You're
yeah.
not alone. It's happening so much. Relationships are falling away, and we're getting in sequence with our partners that vibrate at the same frequency. Have you read? For a while, I wouldn't work with any clients until they read the book Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Have you read Eckhart Tolle's book?
No, I haven't read it all. I actually have the book, but I've never finished it.
Well, there you go. There's your psychic hit right now, and that's so funny because I've had so many people say that and say, "Yeah, I've got it on my shelf." I go, "There you go. There's your hit. There's your book." That book is phenomenal because, for a while, I wouldn't work with anybody who didn't read that book because they wouldn't understand the language that I was going to tell them. You will get your hits off that book. That book will help you tremendously. And you have to stay in the present moment to survive the trauma and the pain and the sorrow and everything. You can't get ahead of yourself. You can't look down the road into the future and say, well, what about this, what about... There's no future. Your healing is right in the present moment. And you have to deal with every single piece that comes up, every single piece of feeling, whether it's anger, it's abandonment issues, it's pain. You have to deal with it and you have to release it. And I will give you a tool, and this is for everybody. This is the tool I give to my clients. Emotion is energy. Whether it's anger, pain, sorrow, it's still a field of energy. If you could actually see it in color, you would see the color of it. When you are having your moments of sadness and anger, I want you to sit in your favorite spot and concentrate on your body. You take that emotion that you're feeling, whether it's anger, and you say, I'm really angry right now. I'm angry that my ex-husband is doing this. And instead of taking it out on another person, which people spread negative energy around all over the place, say, that anger right now is red. I'm going to create red in my body. So I'm going to attach that anger energy to red. And you're going to release it out of your body. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. Create outside your heart chakra anything. Like if you want doves, butterflies, any beautiful creature that you adore. And you sit there for a few minutes and you visualize. I do a lot of visualization when I work with clients. That's number one. Visualize. I always use butterflies because butterflies are so whimsical and they're beautiful and they have these glistening wings, da-da-da-da. Imagine 50 butterflies in front of your heart chakra and imagine that anger that you have and turn it into the color red and move that red color all through your body, out of your heart chakra, into the butterflies. And let the butterflies gently fly it away. And after you start doing that on a regular basis, you will feel the emotion run through your body in such a beautiful way. Keep doing that. Keep clearing. And the molecular structure of your cells will start to change. You'll become grounded, much more peaceable, and you won't be tossed about with the emotional trauma that you're going through. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. This is so amazing. You were talking about instant feedback. I just changed my screensaver on my computer to a blue butterfly. I'm looking at it right now. That's
synchronicity. That's called you there's a a reason you're listening to the show. There's a reason I just mentioned the butterflies. There's a reason that we're having a conversation. There's a reason you have the book of Power of Now on the shelf. Okay? The universe is always talking to us, always, through codes, through numbers, through his experiences, through his emotions. We have to start paying attention. And that's beautiful because that's how it all, what you just stated has been my life for a really long time. And you're a lovely person. You have great energy, but there's a little bit of stuff going on. I can see it. But you're going to read that book and you're going to have your aha moments. And girlfriend, it's coming for you. There's some good stuff, but you have to get through these last bit of hurdles right now. So I'm happy.
Awesome.
I'm very happy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That's wonderful. And I love those hits.
Yeah, they're hits. And what my clients do is, like, one of my clients said, I'm going to get a tattoo of a butterfly so I never forget. You can do the butterfly tool anywhere. You can do it in your car. You can do it in your office. You can do it at home. I mean, some of my clients have Post-it notes of butterflies on their computers at work. I mean, you can use doves or birds or butterflies, whatever you want to do, but learn how to move the energy through your body. You are a frequency. You are a core essence of spirituality. Learn how to use and move energy. That's what we do. We move and manifest energy. So, but it's really funny. I'm going to say this to you. There's a guy. Okay, I don't know who the guy is, but there's this beautiful guy. And I see him. And I can see things. So you're going to go on this road. You're going up this road. And once you come through that and you pop through it, there's a beautiful man on the left side of you that I see. He's probably doing his work right now. But he's there. I don't know who he is, but he's there. So
awesome.
All right. So have at it. Go read the book, and the book is very, you might read a page or two a day. It's very intense. There's a lot of knowledge in it, and it's sometimes difficult to understand. But I brought the book up. You have it. There you go. The universe is guiding you, and now you have your job. There's your job. Take care of you,
okay.
And remember to always love yourself. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's big for me. Yes.
Yeah, it's
Thank
big
you for that reminder.
It's big for everybody. Be gentle. Love yourself. And as females and mothers, we're so used to giving. Give to you. Love you. You're going through a difficult time right now. So love yourself. Take baths and get your nails done. Just give to you because you need that right now, okay?
Yes. Thank you
and
so
I love
much.
You.
Thank you. I'm so glad I called. This is just what I needed to hear. So thank you so much.
Exactly. And I love you, and you're loved so dearly. And you have a whole team that's there for you. So.
Awesome.
Anyway, wonderful.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking my call. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Have a great day, both of you.
Okay, you too. Bye now.
It's our pleasure.
Oh, she's sweet.
Yeah, there's something I would actually like for you because we only have about 15 minutes to go. You mentioned something that many people I don't think really understand. Can you wrap this up in 5 minutes? About first, you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. If you can't love yourself, how can you give what you don't have?
Exactly, you can't. Every single person is a center of the universe. Every single person is. I know that you start from the center out. I start from the center out. If you have not learned to love and respect and honor yourself, you cannot give that to anybody else. Now, I went through a lot of stuff. When my husband left, I dated a few men, okay, some famous and some not famous. And I allowed certain people, certain men, to treat me like garbage. And I allowed it for some time until I got to the point when I thought, wait a minute, I'm not loving myself. Okay, there's a disconnect here with you. And I started to really look at myself and saying, okay, you can't do that to me because that's not what I'm giving you. I'm offering you amazing and love and everything, and this is what I'm settling for? I don't think so. So I just stopped settling. I'm like, if you can't match this frequency and match respect and honor and beauty and purity and love and honesty, you don't get to be with this, okay? Because I have run the gamut of BS and lies and out of integrity. No, I'm not doing it anymore. And in my life now, if for 5 minutes you're going to throw that at me, you're gone. You're gone. And it's not that I don't love you. It's that I will love you, but I'll release you to the universe until you figure out how to love yourself. Because when someone treats you a certain way, it's just a reflection of how they don't love themselves. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So how I was being treated was a reflection of how much I didn't love myself. So when I started to really love myself, I would draw in some really great people. I mean, I'm like, wow, look at that reflection. That is so beautiful. And now I never look at the other person. I'm always keeping the attention on Michelle. Okay, I drew this energy in. Why did I draw this energy in? You know, why did this person come into my field? I'm always looking for the pieces. I don't miss a beat. So when you really, really love yourself, you're never going to let anybody hurt you. And you're not going to you're not going to hurt anybody else. So when every single soul here comes into that agreement and says, you know what, I'm not going to hurt me, then that's when peace will enter into this new paradigm. Because essentially everything is ultimately about self-love and balance. Balance between male and female energy, and balance is how much you love yourself. How much are you willing to put up with? That's the question. How much do you really love yourself? And when are you really done with the BS? You know, like, am I done yet? Or do I need more bad? You know, do I need to be abused more? You know, I mean, those are your lessons, right? So you choose. I choose. You choose. Everyone choose. And when you say, you know what, enough. I love you. I mean it. You got to go now. Bye-bye.
Adios.
That's right. It's like when you can learn how to love yourself, then you'll be able to learn how to love me. But I love me. I love this, and it loves tremendously.
There is an old expression I used to know, and I'm probably going to really mess it up here, but true love is an expression of how I feel about myself while I'm with you.
Exactly. It's just a reflection. There is nothing outside of self. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing outside of you. There's nothing. You think that there is, and that's the illusion that this holographic universe shows you. Like, there isn't. That's not real. That's not truth. And that's a whole other subject we could talk about.
Yeah.
Right?
Speaking of which, when do you want to do another show? Do you want to do it before your birthday next month, or do you want to do it after your birthday?
Let's see, my birthday's let's see. Probably afterwards, because I'm curious to see. I'm this person now, but after my birthday, I'll be a different person. Because you're always growing. Right? I never stay the same.
Well,
I mean,
I just do that on a day-to-day basis.
Right. It's like, and you know, we've had our talks, and you know, I've shared with you. It's like, come on now, come on, Kirk, come on now. You know what your work is.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, let's do it after. I know.
Okay.
But afterwards, let's do it afterwards.
Yeah. Let's talk about one thing that we had talked about we wanted to hit on at least before the show gets over anyway, which is only in like 11 minutes. And we only have about 10 minutes of that because I have about a minute closure on the show. We were talking back in November or December or both, and we were talking about what's coming up this year, and I said in our conversation that it was basically, using my own vernacular back then, was 2015 was going to go to hell in a handbag, and I think it's going to start early in the year. Right. You nailed it with saying it's going to start in March. Now, another friend of mine who's not called in, but then again, he's always busy doing his thing. He's an astrologer, and he did a show on a friend of mine's show, and he nailed it because I hadn't told him about our conversations, and he said from an astrological point of view, same month and the same basic time, the middle of March. Can you, in roughly 9 minutes, tell us about what you see, feel, whatever?
Well, sequence-wise and energy-wise and mathematical-wise, the middle of March, around March 14th, is a pivotal, what I want to call energy point. That's when it's going to accelerate. Okay, so beginning of January, we've kind of seen, all what's going on with ISIS, what's going on, it's just going. And so in March, the middle of March, it's just going to explode. It's going to be so insane that the mind will have difficulty wrapping itself around it. I mean, there's already people can't stay in the frequency, so people are checking out energetically. And the whole thing that went down in Canada with the Canadian, you remember what happened when they assumed ISIS went in and shot up at some sort of facility. They were looking for the Prime Minister of Canada. Okay, remember that? That was like, I precognitive got that information. I shared that information with an insider who worked for the government. I said, look, this is going to happen in 2 weeks. Sure enough, that went down exactly as I saw it. And they assumed it was ISIS. It was not. Okay, that was a setup. That was a white flag. We're gonna essentially point the finger at ISIS. Okay, it wasn't ISIS. That was an in-house movement. Okay, which I already got the information for that. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of stuff happen that's going to come on the premise of this is what it looks like, and this is what we're going to tell you on the news it looks like. It's not. Okay, there's an underneath that layer, there's the actual truth. Okay, so we're going to start seeing so much unfold. And the people that are going to ground themselves and anchor themselves in a state of peace and calm and what I call 0 point are going to fare well. The people who aren't going to stay grounded and haven't been doing their work, that is going to be their hell in a handbasket, because for those people, they're not going to be able to ground it. Okay? So what I'm saying is, March. March is just get ready. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, I don't want to call it blowing out, but we're on our way, and it's acceleration time. We're accelerating. The waves are moving faster. People are waking up faster. The creative vacuum is moving. It's just a phenomenal time to be here. It's either the most amazing time to be here for you, or it's the most worst time to be for you. You choose. Your soul choose, and your soul is already chosen.
Yep.
So that's the ride. I just call it a ride.
Yeah. Speaking of flag moments, we call it Black Flag, but okay. There's something that I was showing actually on my blog and on Facebook. And Facebook people just seem to choose to ignore that. And what the?
There's going to be a lot of people who ignore a lot of stuff.
I'm sorry. Somebody just called in on a different line. I can't take that call. The point basically that I want to talk about is that what I showed was everybody gets this thing about ISIS, and they call it Islamic State. So I'm going, do we call it Islamic State, or what? I actually came across this information by happenstance, if you will. And if you go to www.ISISHQ.com, you'll find that it is a subcontractor for the U.S. government. And that's what they do. That's what they do.
Right. Like, that's a whole other topic, and you know that.
Oh, yeah. But, it's like a lot of people are just saying this is people, the governments and these agencies and whatnot, they're just putting it out there right there. It's hiding in plain sight, and people don't.
Well, that's what they do. That's exactly what they do. Like Majestic 12 and the shadow government. They want it right up your nose, man. They're shoving it right in your face. It's like they get a kick off of it. There's the arrogance about dark energy. It just loves what it does. It revels in the fact that it has duped everybody. There's a manipulative, arrogant side to it. I've have dealt with it. Okay, so I understand it. I mean, I know what deck of cards they play with. okay? And I play with my deck of cards, and I know what card they're going to lay down before they even think about what card they're going to lay down. Okay, so there's that arrogance that you're up against, and they just love their little games and their manipulations and their little black magic and their tricks. They get off on that stuff, man. They're all sitting around smoking their big cigars and just laughing at everybody.
Yeah.
And on all different levels. I mean, and we haven't even gone down the alien part. We didn't even discuss that. That wasn't meant to come up this time.
That's why we're going to do another show. Yeah. We're going to come up and do that next 6 weeks.
Yeah, the big. This was just a very thin layer, and thank you so much for allowing me to share this information.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And when you come back in 6 weeks, we'll let you continue on with wherever you feel like taking up and going from there, or as we both say, let Spirit guide you, and it will be what people need to hear. So
Spirit just guides you, and everything, and there's just so much support right now. There's so much love, and there's so much support out there. And, even James Cameron, there for Jim. He's doing Avatar 2 and 3 back-to-back. They moved to New Zealand, and their whole family, they moved to New Zealand. They started an organic farm out there because they have 6 kids. And so he's busy doing 2 and 3. So the Illuminati and the Dark Forces have used the movie business as a machine to manipulate also. But the light is there. Okay, let me tell you something. The light is taking over that, and it is pushing more information out there. So I'm like, hooray, 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 because there's just some monumental films that are exposing all of this dark secret that has been right in front of our face. The reason we haven't been able to see it, is because we haven't been able to see ourselves. It all comes back to self-love. When you really love yourself, you're not going to allow anything to take control of you ever again. And that's what they have essentially capitalized on. They capitalize on the fact that you don't love yourself. That's how they control you, through mind control and frequency and harp and that's the next interview. So when you really start. So just love yourselves to death and do the work and be kind to each other and love each other and be gentle and graceful and all that good stuff. It's not that hard, really.
Really, it's not. Well, for some people it might be hard only because they just can't get past I'm disgusted with myself and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. They hate themselves.
Yeah. With that, I definitely have to add. Yeah. Michelle, we have only about a minute left, 1 minute, and we're going to have to literally close the show, or they will close it for us. So, do you have any final words?
No, I'm done.
Done for the day.
I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
Just love yourselves. Just be good. Be good to each other and be good to yourselves. That's my last word. And I love you, Kirk. I love you.
I love you too, dear. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Julie, thanks for being here. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for being so patient. She was actually waiting for about 50 minutes before we actually took her call.
Oh, she's a love. She's got some good stuff coming her way. She's going to do fine.
She's a sweetheart. And, I guess the rest of the messages we'll just have to do with the closing message here. Stay tuned with our blog, and we'll see you in 6 weeks with Michelle again, and stay tuned to the blog for other shows that are coming up. Take care and be well.
All right, love. All right, bye, dear.
As we close today's show, we at K-Wave 6 Radio thank you for being with us today. Also, we ask that you follow our blog, Twitter, and Facebook links, and our Thoughts for Growth podcast episodes, which air on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. Eastern. Links to follow us and to our media players can be found at www.kwave6, that's the number 6, radio.tk. Again, that's kwave6radio.tk, or www.kwave6radio.weebly.com. Check out what's happening at Freedom Talk Radio and SETV by visiting their site at www.freedomtalkradio.net. And as always, all the best.